Welcome back to Ball Talk with Brandy. Before the break, I had a guest, and I told you guys I wasn't going to have just one guest, but I was going to have two guests today. So, everyone, please welcome my next guest. We have Cleveland Browns receiver David Bell in the building. How are you today?
I'm doing lovely. How you doing?
I'm pretty good. I appreciate you for joining me. So, first to start, we're going to take it back to when you were in high school. You were playing both basketball and football. So, how was it able to win championships in both of those sports?
The feeling was something that I can't really explain. Growing up as a young boy, the number one goal when you go to Warren Central is to win something in football, that state championship. So basketball was like on the back burner. We always had good teams on the basketball side, but none of them were good enough to get to that next level as far as the state championship. So the journey that we endured in that by going 32-0 in Indiana, and for those who don't know, like that's kind of like a basketball state. You know, you was born and raised with a basketball in your hand, like from the age of like 2 and stuff like that.
So, how would you say playing basketball was helping you on the football field?
It helped me a lot. I mean, especially for the position that I play, wide receiver. It's a lot of the same movements as far as having a defensive backpedal against you, trying to guard them is basically having a defender backpedal against you, trying to guard you with the basketball. So a point guard and a receiver, or a shooting guard and a receiver, has the same movement. So a lot of the stuff that I use on the basketball court translated to the football field and vice versa.
So you obviously were successful at both sports. So how and when did you decide it was football that you were going to keep pursuing?
I think it was about my sophomore year in high school. So my freshman year, I was like all conference and stuff like that. I ended up getting my first offer from Indiana University. And then some situations happened on the basketball court, and ultimately I wasn't supposed to play my junior year. So once those situations happened, I kind of just strictly focused on football. I stopped doing travel basketball, and once you stop doing travel basketball, it's kind of hard to get, recruited by colleges. So at that point, I knew that football would be my end goal.
So playing football to start, you were at running back. So what made you want to slide over to wide receiver?
How do you know that?
Listen, I know.
Most people don't know that. It really wasn't my choice. So, you're right. I played running back and like linebacker all the way up until 8th grade. And originally I wasn't supposed to go to Warren Central. I was supposed to go to a different school. But when I came in and the type of players that we had coming in, they changed the like entire offense to more of a offense you see now in like today's NFL, where they pass the ball a lot. So at first I wanted to play safety, but my coach came up to me and was like, nah, we need you at receiver because we got this quarterback coming in from this other rival school that we had. And he was like, if y'all two compare together, then, y'all can be one of the best to come to Indiana. And I was like, all right, as long as I get to play varsity, my freshman year, then I really didn't trip about what position I was playing. Yeah, that kind of led me to receiver. End up starting varsity like the 3rd or 4th game of the season, and the rest is history after that.
So how would you say running back has helped you now at receiver, being able to read defenses?
It helped me a lot because being in the backfield, you got to kind of scan the entire field as far as the defensive linemen, the linebackers, and also the secondary too. And then when you're outside on the perimeter as a receiver, you kind of got to do the same thing if you really want to know the details as far as what the defense is giving off. So we call it a triangle read in a receiver position. So you look at the person in front of you, the person nearest inside you, and the person who's on top of you too. So being able to understand how linebackers move and function can also help me and dictate a lot of things, how I understand coverages and how I maneuver my routes.
So after high school, you were getting recruited by different colleges. So what made you end up choosing Purdue?
The number one reason was really my family. Just being close to Indiana. I think West Lafayette was probably like an hour away. So just having them, there to come to all the games as they've been doing since I was about like 6 or 7. My grandma specifically, she had a stroke when I was about 4 or 5 years old. So ultimately she was out of the house for about a good 6 to 7 weeks. But then when she came back, obviously a lot of things have changed. She was handicapped in a wheelchair, and then as I get into playing sports, she never missed a football game. So I kind of wanted to give her that opportunity to, see her baby boy go off to college and try to attain the dreams that he's been reaching since he was a youngin'. And also seeing the type of success that Rondale Moore had. He currently plays for the Cardinals. The type of success that he had there that previous year before I went there, that kind of was like, yeah, I got to get there too. Because the only thing I was thinking was, if me and him can get connected with each other, then, you know, the sky's the limit for what we can do.
So then you're at Purdue. You are a freshman there. You had a successful season. You had the 7th most snaps in the nation. And then you were also able to get Big Ten Freshman of the Year. So how was that like coming in your freshman year of college and being used so heavily by the team?
It was a rocky start at first. So at first, I didn't even know if I was going to play. You know, I was dealing with some injuries, and, you know, I would practice some days and then I'll get hurt. So it was like a very dark time for me in the beginning. But you know, eventually I got my opportunity to play the very first game, and my first play in, I scored a touchdown. And, you know, that kind of boosted a lot of things. And I think about week 3 or 4, that's when Rondale got hurt, and they was kind of looking for somebody to fill that void. And like I said, coming off that previous year, he was an All-American, arguably like the best player in the nation at that point. So it was a big shoes to fill, and we was trying to find somebody to fill that void. You know, like I said, a lot of what he did, and just the preparation that I put in through that summer and then leading up to that season, I ended up doing my thing. Ended up just being consistent each and every game, and each and every game that I played and I got more targets, you know, I felt more comfortable. Because coming from high school to college, it was obviously a huge jump, but at the end of the day, football is football. So once you get comfortable in that situation, you know, it's kind of like playing when you were 6 and 7 years old. So it was a lot of ups and downs, but, you know, like you said, I got a freshman All-American and stuff like that. So it was a lot of high points too.
So fast forward after that, after Purdue, you're in the process to try and go to the NFL draft. So I graduated from Ohio State, so I got to ask, how was it, you know, seeing Brian Hartline tweet about you and talk about you and how if NFL teams need a receiver that you should be the one they should get?
Nah, that's really solid of him. He was actually one of my favorite coaches throughout the whole recruiting process. He was the person that was on me heavily to get to Ohio State, but, you know, I ended up making my own decision to go to Purdue. But it was huge to see him, especially to seeing the type of players that he has produced, you know, with Chris, Garrett, J-Mo, and them boys that he just got now, and then also with JSN. So seeing, you know, those highly of words from that kind of caliber of coach was, you know, obviously a blessing. And then obviously, like, probably a few minutes later, I ended up getting drafted to Cleveland. So maybe he got to have some insight.
So another person who mentioned you in that process was Greg Newsome. So you were able to play against him in college. So how was it, you know, hearing him mention you and then you guys end up on the same team in Cleveland?
It was kind of the same thing, crazy. I tell people to this day, Greg was the toughest DB that I went against in college. You know, he definitely gave me my hardest challenge. I think I played probably my worst game that game, and he says the same too. So that's just a type of competitive nature that we both have. But seeing him, you know, sit up and speak out, you know, highly of me was like I said, a blessing, because his rookie year he balled out tremendously, you know, guarded the best receivers, and for him to say that about a kid coming out that's not an NFL yet, obviously that, you know, that holds a lot of weight.
So what's it like now, you know, going up against him in practice every day?
Oh, it's good. I mean, it's still, you know, a lot of chitter and chattering. You know, we still reminisce and talk about the time that we played against each other. You know, unfortunately, we lost, but going up against him every day is definitely something I look forward to. You know, he's obviously a top defensive back in this league, and for me to get to the position I want to be, you know, I have to go up against those type of guys, and I've been lucky to go up against, you know, people like him and Denzel up in practice.
So then it's draft night. So how was it, you know, hearing your name being selected by Cleveland?
It was fun. It was fun. You know, the waiting process was long, you know, seeing everybody get drafted before you. So when I finally seen that Cleveland area code pop up, you know, it was kind of like a boulder off my back. But then also the boulder added back on my back, because it's like, now it's time to get to work. Now, you know, you had all these expectations. Are you going to be able to fulfill them? Are you going to be able to come in and do what you want to do and show that you are valued to the team? So it was definitely a blessing.
So now that you're in Cleveland, how is the city of Cleveland, and how is it for you? You know, it's not too far from your home.
Yeah. The city of Cleveland is good. I mean, the fans show love. Downtown is pretty cool from the spots that I've been to, as far as the food spots and just kind of social activities, and also the charity work that we do in Cleveland too has also been amazing. Just being able to get back to the communities and just see the enjoyment in those kids' faces or those people's faces when we go into the communities and we just sit down and talk to them. So just seeing the type of joy that you put on someone else's face, even though at the end of the day we're all human, is definitely a good sign and stuff like that. What was the other question?
That was it.
Oh yeah, but Cleveland been good so far. Like you said, it's not too far from home, so my people, they get to come up to a lot of the home games. So it's a win-win for me.
So during your rookie preseason, you did get injured and had to miss some time in training camp and stuff. So what would you say was the biggest difference for you missing training camp last year and then training camp this year?
I just think missing training camp, I wasn't prepared for the season. So I was kind of playing catch up as far as the rest of the players that's already been through that process. I missed a good part of training camp. I think I came back like the second or third game of the preseason. So throughout that entire season, I was, trying to play catch up and get my wind back, get my foot feeling back right. So going into this season, I went through training camp, so I was able to obtain the offense a lot faster. I was healthy throughout the whole entire off season and also going into the preseason too. So I was able to get on the field and experience the type of game speed and not having to overthink a lot of things. I think that's what I personally see what my problem was last year. Like a lot of times I was overthinking too much. So now when I'm on the field, I can kind of just go out there and play freely.
So what would you say is your biggest adjustment from being in college to now playing in the NFL?
Time management. You got a lot of time on your hands, and it's just about how you use it. You can use it to better your craft or worsen your craft as far as staying extra after we get done as our obligated hours from like 7 to 5, 7 to 6, something like that. Are you going to stay after and do the extra stuff and get better, or are you just going to go home, chill, talk on the phone, watch TV, do something like that? Obviously, I have downtime, but I feel like I'm in a situation now where, it's only opportunity to get better and better. It's not time to relay on the downtime as much, but, that's what the off-season is for. But during the season, that's the time where you just put your foot on the gas and just see where it takes you.
So obviously injuries are part of the game, and the biggest thing so far for you guys this season was the injury to Nick Chubb. So how would you say that's affected you or just the team in general, losing him?
Chubb was a vital part of our team, and seeing him go down like that, it was definitely detrimental to not only me but to the team also. We're definitely keeping him in our prayers, and we're praying for a speedy recovery when he gets back.
So what would you say, or who are some of your favorite players that you watched growing up?
Growing up, I was a huge Cam Newton fan. I mean, even when he was back in Auburn, I was just having a debate with one of my boys back in the city saying who was like one of the best quarterbacks to play. And I just say like the things that Cam did under the circumstances too, is kind of, for me, he was the best quarterback that I seen like growing up. And then also Coop too, my teammate Amari Cooper. Seeing the type of receiver that he was at Bama and just seeing him transfer to the Raiders and stuff like that, and now being able to play with him too is like a fantasy at first, but you understand that he's kind of like a real mellow, chill dude. But you see why he's one of the best receivers in the league and the best route runners.
So you talk about Amari Cooper. What would you say is like the biggest thing you've learned from playing alongside with him?
Just always stay ready. I mean, he constantly preaches that because he said, it's a long season. Just stay ready for your moment. We really don't talk too much football, but when I do have questions, he's always open and willing to help me out. But I probably say the biggest thing is, just to stay ready. And, when practice or scout team, when you have the opportunity to go out there and work on your craft, just do that.
So some players have some don't, but would you say you have any game day rituals or things that you have to do every game day?
Nah, I'm pretty chill. I probably listen to like the same song, probably like twice, 2 or 3 times.
I do hear that a lot.
Yeah, so Dreaming by Rallo Rodriguez, Rich Spirit by Kendrick Lamar, and then Don't Forget by Rod Wave. So those
That's a good list.
Yeah, I got to mix it up a little bit. But those are probably the only things. But as far as the pregame stuff, I kind of do the same stuff I do before practice. I don't like to really break routine, so that's just basically stretching, getting warmed up, getting activated. But nothing like superstitious or anything like that. Nothing like that.
Right. So before you go, I do have some few fun questions before we get out of here. So what would you say is your favorite restaurant so far that you've tried in Cleveland?
House of Creole.
Okay, that's a good one.
Me and my people